This episode is sponsored by NerdGeese. Support our show using code GamingSanity for a 10% discount.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Gaming Sanity End of Year Review. I'm your host, Mr. Black, alongside Agent Jesus, as always. And as we reflect and close out this year, there are a number of themes that will no doubt be popping up during this episode, including my game is still broken, and it's not been that very good for games this year, has it? Especially exclusives on the Sony and Microsoft platforms. So Matthew, as we are sort of a year in now to the new generation consoles, if you don't class the Wii U as one of those, it's been a bit of a mixed bag, hasn't it? I think they've been trying to sort of struggle to find the feet. We've had a fair few controversies, especially recently with Assassin's Creed and the Master Chief Collection, to name but a couple.
Shouldn't have happened.
I think people need to start fixing the games, don't they, before they bring them out. Let's all take a lesson from Nintendo.
Oh, dearie me. Yeah, no, it's been an absolute shambles for both sides on that. I know, like, there's always going to be a few major issues getting used to the new hardware, but these things shouldn't be happening anymore. And one of the biggest disappointments as well with some of these games, Master Chief Collection, the amount of content on there is massive, I know, but at the same time, we're scared of getting a second disc out, kind of thing, and they expect you to download 20 gigs, and it's like, is this the new generation? Is the new generation a patched generation? And that's the sad thing about what's happened in the last year. And I mean, storage space, over the year we've seen games use less storage space on hard drives, fair enough, and that's good to see that they're getting used to it, but it's been a year of learning, and
yes, indeed.
Yeah, it's full of its disappointments, and
it's been peaks and troughs. I think we've had some good stuff this year.
We've seen
especially
some
the
really
HD
good stuff.
remakes. The HD remakes have been good. I mean, we need to sort of stop doing those now.
Yeah, we've had a lot of HD remakes, and I mean, some of them have due course for it. Other ones, as much as Sleeping Dogs is a good game, I'm sorry, but that
was absolutely atrocious. Was that a rubbish port?
I got it. I ended up getting it, and to be honest, some of the things that were rewards in that game, they've made them a bit harder to get to, or they've made them integrated like the DLC into the game, and it's just like you miss just going to the wardrobe and picking these things up and that. Then you got games like Metro. The Metro Redux was a brilliant HD rebring.
Well, it was basically released as the game it should have been, wasn't it? You know, basically as good as the PC version, pretty much, there or thereabouts.
So yeah, that was excellent.
And we do love Metro on this show. We do love Metro. Fantastic game. If you haven't got that, actually, that's currently going on the PlayStation 4 sale at the moment. Is the Metro Redux Collection for like 17 quid or something? So,
and I strongly
seek that out.
Yeah, I strongly recommend picking up the book of it. I strongly recommend picking up the book.
Yes, we do like the books as well on the show.
Yeah,
we like to read.
It's brilliant.
Now, I think one of the main HD remakes of the year was The Last of Us, wasn't it? When that came out, May time. Was it May, June time? It seems like a long time since the beginning of the year. And I've picked it up myself. Very impressive. Definitely worth checking out. Especially, and I understand Sony's reason for doing this. That, you know, there's a lot of people who had Wii U's and Xbox 360s who've jumped ship, who've not had the chance to play The Last of Us, one of the most seminal games in the past 10 years. And I'm all up for that. And at least they put, you know, all the DLC in. They up the graphics, you know, move the frame rate to 60 frames a second, and it looks very pretty. And obviously they put that new photo mode in, which Shadow of Mordor also put in, which adds some nice little creativity when you're taking your screenshots. So as the people who follow my Twitter will know, there are some exceptional screenshots used doing the camera for butchery and various other things. Now, for me, I think what we need to be looking at, I mean, obviously we had E3, didn't we? And we did our show on that. And there's some very promising things coming in the new year. I mean, we're starting off with a bit of a bang with the Order 1886, Bloodborne, and then The Witcher 3's coming probably in May time. I mean, they've been excellent actually. CD Projekt Red, they've come out and said, look, we're delaying the game because we're going to fix it and we're going to make sure that everything works properly. You know, and also they're giving away all the DLC for free, which I think is a very very commendable of them. I mean, these are the guys as well who run Good Old Games, don't they? The DRM free site. So they get a big slap on the back and a well done. They've done some fine work. But I think what we should do now is we should look at some of the games this year, Matthew, and sort of come up with our games of the year. So I think what we should initially do is the platform exclusive of the year, and then we can have a look at, you know, the multi-format game of the year, and then possibly our overall game of the year, which will probably be the same for me as it was in the platform exclusives. So I will begin with platform exclusive game of the year has got to be Bayonetta 2 on the Wii U. It's got to be. Stark raving mad. One of the most insane sensory overload games I've ever played. It's just bananas. And anybody who plays Bayonetta 2 will know. Completely insane. Well over the top. But mechanically as well, the game, it's so on point. You know, second to second fighting. The options you have, once you start to learn the system as well, it's even more rewarding. It's way beyond, you know, things like Ninja Gaiden, Devil May Cry 3. It's like a polished, enhanced version of those. We'll be having some footage of it running over the top of this. 60 frames a second. Amazing graphics as well, considering that we use the inferior of the current crop. But I'll have to say, Nintendo this year has been pumping out some unbelievable games. Mario Kart 8 was almost won this, but I think Bayonetta 2 mechanically overall and just the experience of the game is just slightly better. Now also, we can't talk about Bayonetta 2 if we don't talk about the amazing customization as well in the game. Of like, if you play it on normal, it's not too hard and you can start to get involved and you can learn all the combinations, but then if you start to put the level of difficulty up, it really starts to test you, and you really then have to sit down and really understand the mechanics of the game, countering at the right time, using your witch time, various other amazing action game mechanics. And to be honest, it just blew my mind when I actually sat down and played it. I mean, there'd been a lot of hype about the game, and you know, thanks to Nintendo basically funding the game, if they hadn't funded it, it would never have happened. So it shows, especially Platinum Games, the studio, at the peak of their powers. They understand the franchise, they understand the mechanics, they understand what they're doing and where they're going with it. And it just shows a studio who've had a few so-so games, but we've also had some really good ones, haven't we? Like Metal Gear, Rising Revengeance, Bayonetta 1, and unfortunately the Legend of Korra that came out a few weeks after Bayonetta, and showed the complete polar opposite of an absolute load of shambles that can come from a development team that are not really on board and particularly fussed about it. But yeah, I think they get a 10 out of 10, and that has to be my format exclusive game of the year. Over to you.
Well, because unfortunately I get to miss out on most of the Nintendo stuff, I have actually been keeping a good eye on more of what's out on the mainstream, and it's been a bit of a fair amount of shambles, but there's been a few good gems come out. Firstly, I've actually just completed Assassin's Creed Rogue, which is, after the fact it's being a last generation game, it stands out a lot more than what's come out this year, like on the new consoles. And again, it's mainly been going through HD redos, and again, I'm still looking at some of the original ones, but at the same time, games like GTA 5 that have come out they've beaten some of the new console games, like the new specific generation games, and it's just it's generally hard to sit there and pick what's coming out to go into that list, so to speak, because you're just seeing so much that's just not up there in the top spot. So I mean, it's just so tricky at this point. It's
so
like
you
maybe
would say that your game of the year is Bayonetta 2. Well done. Good man.
It's like, I played a bit of Far Cry 4.
Well, we
but
could
only
get
a
into
tiny
that
bit.
in the multi-platform game of the year. We could get into that. We could get into that. You know,
It's
well, the
really-
thing is, I will say, for me, right, there was two games, and they were both on the Nintendo, and it was Mario Kart 8 or Bayonetta 2. And as awesome as Mario Kart 8 is, and especially its DLC as well, I've got to give a massive shout out to Nintendo with the DLC for Mario Kart. Unbelievable. You know, you pay £11, and you get half the tracks again. You know, new tracks, new cars. This is the way you do DLC, people. You know, all you publishers and developers out there, if you're listening, this is how you do it. Follow Nintendo and see what they're doing, and they take like months over creating it as well. You know, fantastic. Now, the reason I didn't put Mario Kart on is because the online is still a bit temperamental. It's a bit all over the place at certain points. It can be really good and it can be really crap. And the fact is, you don't need online to enjoy Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta 2 does have an online co-op mode, which is quite fun, but again, the netcode on it's not too cracking. I mean, I'm just waiting for the day when Nintendo actually sorts out their online services. I mean, we can't be too picky. Can't be too picky with them, really, though, because obviously it doesn't cost anything, so it's not too bad. But Nintendo get a big props this year because they have knocked it out of the park. You know, Super Smash Brothers, Mario Kart 8, you know, Bayonetta 2. I mean, they're three games that are going to be in any top 10 this year easily. You know, probably top 5. You know what I mean? And the thing is as well, they're done with so much quality, and the games work as well when they come out that you just can't fault them. Can't fault the old boys over at Nintendo. They do some fine work. I just wish some of the studios over in the West would be like that. You know, instead of, I mean, we'll take Assassin's Creed Unity for instance. I mean, the absolute farce that has gone on with that game. I played that game. I got it a couple of days before it came out, and it was unplayable nearly. I got stuck in a floor loop where you couldn't get out the floor, and it was just insane. And then we ended up with the unprecedented live blog of Ubisoft, who have been, you know, beavering away, updating everybody on what they're doing. They've got 4 patches in now, and I think, what is it now? We're sort of 8 gig of update files. That's bigger than any game you generally get on a DVD.
Yeah, that's an entire game in itself.
Yeah,
just to
it's
watch
just
them
mad.
fix their own problems.
And don't get me wrong, I'm going to do a proper review of Assassin's Creed Unity now that it's fixed, and give it you know, a fair shake of the stick. But why couldn't they just delay the game if necessary until January? Because even if you bring it out in January, people will have money left over from Christmas and they'll wait for that game. You know, it's a big game, isn't it? You know, people will wait for it. And I mean, if you looked at Ubisoft's lineup as well at Christmas, it was just insane, wasn't it? Like Assassin's Creed, The Crew, Far Cry 4. They were just throwing games at you. It's like something's got to give, and unfortunately, it was Assassin's Creed this time. I expected it to be The Crew, to be honest.
With Ubisoft and their release dates for games, it's a bit of Russian roulette to try and actually find the one that actually works.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, Far Cry 4. I'll give them the credit with that. That worked, did that?
Yeah.
Great game as well. Really good.
But I mean, even the Crew is still like, that's got its fair share of issues.
Oh yeah, the crew is playable and works, but it doesn't. Obviously, it doesn't. I mean, it's let's put it in this context as well. It's not anywhere near the condition Drive Club was that came out. The PS4 exclusive. Whoa! What a terrible launch that had. I mean, that was all over the place.
You completely.
I mean, that didn't even work.
Out the rage I had when I heard about the news. We've added dynamic weathering.
Well, I will.
Shouldn't that have already been in there?
Well, yes. One thing I will say though, that dynamic weather is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in a game. It is quite spectacular. The rain, you know, when it lands on the windscreen, moves with the inertia of the car, and it'll actually go over to the side and then come back on. And it's all random drops as well. It's not just like, you know, a few repeated patterns of things just
that's a product that should have been like a selling point.
Yeah. Well, Drive Club was supposed to be a release game on the PS4. I mean, what went on at that studio, I've absolutely no idea. And do you know what? There's a good story there in what happened with that game. The story is probably going to be better than the game.
Does it go
But no
along
doubt in the
the
new
slave
year
labour team
we'll
Bondi?
get the PS Plus version, and I can have a drive round on it with the new weather effects and see what all the fuss is about. Apparently now that they've basically fixed it, it's a pretty solid driving game in the vein of Project Gotham and stuff like that, where it's not too simmy but it's not too arcadey. It's that sort of middle ground. So we'll see. Now moving along, let's look at the multi-format game of the year. Now there's a few in here, isn't there, that we can talk about. Me personally, my game of the year, multi-format wise, is Shadow of Mordor, and it's for a number of reasons. One, that we were banging about on this channel for ages, weren't we? For a few months leading up, saying you need to watch out for this game because it's going to be good, and nobody knows it yet, and it may end up on Overlooked Games. Now, the Nemesis system itself is exceptionally clever. The way that you can manipulate the politics between all the war chiefs and how you can sort of possess certain ones and get them going up the chain. How when you get killed by a particular random orc, he'll start going up the chain, and then then if you kill one of them or you defeat them in combat or they defeat you, there's always this dialogue going on where they remember who you are, and they actually talk about the fight that you actually had with them. It's not just like a generic statement they come up with. It's actually a proper conversation that you have. So it adds more freeform to the game. Instead of just the usual Assassin's Creed template of wander around here and go do this mission, it added a whole new level of depth into the game where you were almost creating your own story as you were going in between these missions. It's fantastic. The combat is excellent. A very, very good mix of Assassin's Creed and Batman, probably a bit more Batman. And then obviously once you start getting really powered up later on with the Wraith powers, and you start to become the ultimate badass. The story's quite good as well, and there's definitely going to be more of those games. But I was watching an interesting interview with the head of development. It's an Australian fella actually, and he was saying that we've only begun to scratch the surface of what we're going to be doing with this, because they've got big plans for the Nemesis system, and obviously with the new generation of consoles, we've got enough RAM and we've got enough processing power to be able to do all these calculations in the background. And I mean, the graphics were good, the music was good, the story was good, but it was the Nemesis system that really added something. And this is something that's going to be going off into other games. I mean, I'd love to see it in the new Grand Theft. Something like Red Dead as well. The new Red Dead that's coming. Red
Dead I could see very
well,
easily.
Yeah, because you could have outlaws, couldn't you, and bounties on people, and and things like that. It'd be really good. I mean, Grand Theft, you could do it as like a crime sort of family type thing where you're working your way. Do you know what? It'd work well in a crime family Yakuza-based game in Grand Theft, like set in Tokyo. With all that sort of intrigue and stuff going on.
Yeah,
but yeah, Shadow of Mordor, fantastic.
So.
And the thing is as well, it's a proper next-gen thing. It's the only game where I felt that it was an actual next-gen system that had been put in, that you couldn't do, on the other games, because apparently Shadow of Mordor on the PS3 and Xbox 360 is absolutely terrible. It barely runs, and obviously without the Nemesis system, it's pointless. So, big round of applause. Well done, the team at Monolith, and well done, Shadow of Mordor. They nail it out the park there. Over to you.
Well, to be honest, I haven't really gotten around to many multi-platforms, but yeah, Shadow of Mordor has really shone quite strong in this series, and I mean, it's probably one of the best Lord of the Rings games made.
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to have to actually go with that one as well, purely because it has actually stood out so much more than anything else that has really been in this generation. So it really it can't be beaten, so much to speak. It's just, it sticks out well.
It's inventive, isn't it? It's got something new.
And it was generally something that we were going to think, it was just like, we probably won't pay too much attention to it.
But we knew about it, you see. We knew.
It really did just sneak up, and once people realised what it was just, you must play this.
It's one of the top. It's one of the. I think it's the top. I think it's the fourth highest rated game this year or something. It's like I didn't give it like a 9.5. It's like everybody just went crackers when that came out. And the thing was, it took everybody by surprise, as it would do. Lord of the Rings. But it was interesting actually watching the interview with the head of the studio, and he was saying, look, we even purposely didn't use Lord of the Rings in the title. We used, we wanted to disassociate ourselves with those previous games, Now, I think we should talk about some special runners-up mentions, though. Far Cry 4
Yes.
has absolutely got it to go in there.
Yeah.
My
No, that
beloved
was
elephant that I ride around on, Little Timmy, he has been killed numerous times by cooperative partners who will remain nameless, but if they are listening to this show, they know who they are, and Little Timmy will be avenged at some point. But I loved the new setting of Kirat. I loved the fact that it felt so different to number 3. Even though you had a lot of the same mechanics going on, it feels like a lot more a lot denser does the world. Even though it's roughly the same size, because it's not split into islands and it's just like one big sort of continent.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like a bigger game, and it obviously exceptionally good looking game as well. It's got its own sort of semi cartoonist art style going on, which I really enjoy.
The environment doesn't feel all of the same, so to speak. It's it's very easy with the Far Cry series just to make the same.
Yeah.
Like everywhere looked the same, so it was easy to get bloody lost. But yeah, with Kirat, it's just more of the area feels more unique.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a condensed Skyrim. You know, where you can go from like the extremes of the sort of the snow-covered mountains down through the tundra, down through into the forest, and then into the green, lush areas. It definitely reminds me of that. Fantastic game, though. Hilarious in co-op as well.
I mean, as they've always described Far Cry, it's Skyrim with guns.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fantastic game. It's Far Cry 4. I've still got to finish it, but it's definitely, I've played enough and I know enough of that game to know that it was pretty close. The second one that we're going to have is Dragon Age Inquisition. Now, this was I was a bit sceptical about this game at first because Dragon Age 2 was so crap and Dragon Age 1 was awesome, but it's nicely married the systems from both games. And obviously we've got well over 100 hours of story content and quests to do. There's actually one of the things in the game as well. The storylines branch off so much that there are events you can miss in the game, characters you can completely miss in the game, endings and so forth. So they get a big shout out for that. And the multiplayer they've put in as well is quite fun as well. I've had a good little go on the multiplayer. It's quite entertaining, going around with a dungeon with 4 characters. Very well done. Sort of an enhanced version of the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, where you can actually move around and explore these mini dungeons. And kudos to EA as well, and BioWare, they released a free multiplayer map pack.
They're not so evil anymore, are they?
Well, no. They give away some free stuff at the PlayStation experience, so we enjoyed that. That was good.
Kind of let EA they're not the worst company.
No.
Anymore, really. It's. I mean, they really.
They brought that statement
out, but at the same time,
they brought the statement out, didn't they? We're actually listening to our fans now. So, well done, EA. Yeah, you finally figured out that that's how you get a lot of loyalty and some decent stuff. So, well done for that. Well done, EA. You've learned. So, I think overall, we've had a mixed bag this year, haven't we? There's certainly 10 top games that are 10. 9s rated. We've had some very good games, but a number of those have been re-releases, HD remakes, and so forth. But what we're going to do now is we're going to vote for our overall game of the year, and the overall game of the year is Grand Theft 5, the new next-gen re-release. So well done, Grand Theft. We did it with the new first-person mode. Oh yes, it's. Look,
you poor git, you didn't get to play it.
What a game! What a game! What a game! I mean, that new first-person mode adds just so much more to the game. It's just ridiculous.
We're going to be here for the next 20 minutes, enjoying the glory of GTA 5.
Well, I was stunned with how much of a difference and how guilty I felt about clubbing somebody in the head with a hammer.
Unfortunately for me, the guilt has passed after a while, but I have accidentally run into a homeless guy in the past, and you do feel this genuine oh fuck moment as you watch.
It's a lot more brutal as the game, isn't it? Up close and personal.
You know how you do something's about to happen in real life, and everything just starts to slow down for a moment. You're just slammed the brake on, and you're just watching this poor homeless man's head just bounce into your bonnet, and then just steadily slip under your car. Like you just see it being dragged, and you're like, oh
Oh yeah.
bugger.
Yeah.
You get that genuine guilt from it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's shocking. Like, you see cats walk off into construction area near explosives, and you just look at it and you go, "That can get rid of those few enemies," but there's some cats in there. They didn't do anything. And I know it's really pathetic of me to say it, but you do get that genuine guilt. It's just like, you know, it's the same with like the dogs in the game and that. You just don't. You look at them and you just don't want to really. You'd rather shoot the Mexican gangsters over there that are really just trying to shoot you, but you go, "I got to miss that dog. That dog's got nothing to do with this."
Well, I think we need to talk
generated.
About the technical performance of the game as well.
Yes,
and how buttery smooth it feels when you're driving, and how smooth everything is, and how it looks, and the draw distance. It's just nuts what they've done with it. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the PC version actually in the new year. That's got 4K support and all these things. Now, I've not got a 4K television yet, but I do certainly have a machine that is more than capable of running 4K. So I'm going to be very interested to see what that's like. And obviously the modding community is just going to go ballistic, aren't they, with it? I mean, with the last mods I saw recently for Grand Theft 4, you can actually have a life-size Ed 209 from Robocop going around with you, so that's some good work. There's been some fine work there.
I mean, I love the work that comes out of GTA Garage and all that. I mean, myself, I was in there back in the times of not paying attention in school, and the modding community that you get around Grand Theft Auto is probably some of the more creative.
Yeah.
I mean, from experience, the game engines themselves, as much as everything is well structured, everything is just so easy to pull the files out. We've gone far beyond the time of simple DFF files and TXT stuff and that. It's just literally, you can go in, you pull those files out and go into 3D Max, and people just build whatever they want. And what comes out with it, some of it's not polished, some of it is just absolutely flawless. And you get those people that do enhance the graphics. I mean, GTA 4, you can pretty much bring the graphics up close to what GTA 5 is.
Oh god, yeah, that's
with
true.
With the modders in there.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
I mean, they actually have done a fair few good first-person mods on there. So it's, yeah, I mean, what they can do... I think it's
some of the way forward in it for Rockstar. I think we're going to have first-person modes pretty much.
What they can do with GTA 5 will be absolutely nothing but mesmerising, and I think, although it's one of the only things that's usually never allowed, I do believe a lot of people will be trying to work in teams to bring Liberty City into Los Santos. There's always been... You always get groups that get this hype up to build to connect the maps. And there's been a few good ones in the past, but some of them just generally fall flat. But we've now got another map to go with Liberty City, and the files are pretty much... They will pretty much be the same to a certain degree. Mainly because, although this is a new engine, at the same time, the model files and that should definitely be all the same. And if you look back at like GTA San Andreas and 3, they were all the same file type in the past. Just a few tweaks here and there. So you can see some massive map upgrades.
Oh, it's going to be hilarious.
I mean, we might even see a lot more of the real buildings from Los Angeles put into Los Santos. So yeah, and there's always going to be mods like that to bring those cities to what the real ones are up to standard. And yeah, I'm very anticipating what's going on with the modding community, so to speak.
Yeah. So I think to close out for this end of year review, I think we should have a look at what we're looking forward to next year. Now, what is, would you say, the number one game that you're looking forward to next year on any format?
Are we allowed to say it? Probably not.
No.
No.
Yeah. The new Red Dead that's coming. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That's going to be it.
Yeah, we're allowed
the
to
new,
say
The new
okay.
Red Dead. Yeah,
Good,
the new
good.
Red Dead's coming next year, people. And just remember, you heard that first here. It is going to happen.
I'm also looking very forward to the new Uncharted. That, I mean, looking back at the Sony experience, that was just for what was an alpha build, it was just brilliant.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's going to be Uncharted and The Witcher 3.
Yes. And I'm hoping Ubisoft release an Assassin's Creed game that isn't broken. And
well, it's Assassin's Creed Dickensian London, isn't it, this time?
Yes.
So that's going to be interesting.
Let's not break it this time.
No, let's make sure it works.
Learn, please. For the sake of the community, please learn from this.
Yes, please.
We're not impressed by live sleep.
I mean, really,
patching.
they should take a few years off. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. So we'd like to wish you all happy holidays and a happy new year, and we will see you in the new year. So it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.